You go for it. Put you on the spot for whatever the initial skill will be.
No, just oh, we should probably get like stuff. I don't even know if I have Phoenix things. So we're gonna get Cross and Mimulette.
Yeah. I feel like we want you to watch Cross if possible. Or
Okay.
the production to be on Cross because.
Oh yeah, because yeah. This is not a current Eternal play.
Oh yeah, he has those issues. Maybe I should hand cam for Cross.
I'm so far. That tilts me so hard. Alright, let's try the other one.
Okay.
That might be my issue too. I usually don't have trouble until I... Okay. So it's a good thing I'm kind of known from the community, because me sending random requests out, friend requests out, is probably weird as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, we send out the requests because we're casting the tournament. These people know that they're in a tournament, so
Yeah, yeah.
hope
No, I know.
they understand that's why we're adding them.
Which one match did you say you wanted to
Not
cover?
always.
Cross.
Usually the case, though. Most people are capable of.
Okay.
You said the Cross and Mimulette matchup?
What's it? Access tokens? Okay. So this is gonna be a short. No, we're never
Idol
gonna
of the
see it
Shrine
go off.
tokens.
We're never going to go off. We're never gonna go off against Idol of Destra. One Idol of Destra. Ooh,
Yeah.
spicy. I didn't actually have the Idol of Destra, as you can see by my my visuals. Who are we hosting RNG during our tournament? What?
This.
Just let us know when we can start talking.
I think you guys are good to talk. Or, you know, in the deck list first. Cross and Mimo.
I suppose it should auto stop hosting RNG when
Yeah, it'll.
it hits 10 minutes.
Could probably just say .host. That's fine. We want to support our
Fellow Eternal community members.
exactly. Actually, why did I even add anybody? Well, actually, you're the guy.
Are we ready to cast yet? Because players are in game on mulligan screens now.
Huh?
Deck list should be up. We can talk about those now.
So I think we're ready to go live with the round when you are.
Okay. Who did you?
Yeah, I just want to know
Okay.
when our classes are.
Yeah. Which player did you add? Kroos or Mimilet?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you now. I've got Kroos because Mamulet has more issues. Or Kroos has
Yes, but we already
internal
have
quest
added.
issues.
Eventually, the Cygnus already has Cross from a
Previous event.
previous tournament. Yeah.
All right. I think we're ready to get started then. Count us down to when we go live.
Ones.
You guys can start. Can't hear me?
We cannot hear you right now, The Rock. So if you've told us that our mics are hot, we haven't heard yet.
Exactly. Just yeah, your mic issue doesn't really matter. It's, yeah, are we live? Can people hear us?
All right, folks, welcome to tonight's Eternal Casual Friday event. Sorry about the production hiccups. We're going to go ahead and get right into it with Cross versus Mamelet. And today our casters are myself, Cygnus Infinity, and the Overmaster coming to us from TRS.
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, no, we're sorry about all the hiccups. It's fine. The everything is fine. All right. I believe can we tell the players to go?
Yes, yes, we can. I just did.
Okay,
So
good.
today we've got Cross on a very interesting Vodacon Talir Destiny time units deck, and
I think he's basically just trying to play his entire deck. I think that's basically what's going on here.
yeah, that definitely looks like it's what's gonna happen. Just the whole deck, everything in his deck is gonna have Destiny.
The unfortunate part about his deck is that it doesn't have Rise to the Challenge. The one Vodacon, even though it's going to be spicy. Ooh, speaking of spicy, um, Mimilet kept a one power hand with a double initiate draw, and he also drew the Idol of Destron, which is a singleton in his list. The one spicy one of I don't even own any Destrons. That's how spicy this Idol of Destron is.
It's definitely a good place for the idol, and that draw of a Seed of Impulse is really gonna help him get up to it and play it for possibly decent power toughness right away.
Yeah, it's definitely clutch. Cross is probably looking for a power draw there off the voice, but didn't really get there.
Oh, definitely. Being stuck on 2 is not where he wants to be, especially since Mimilet's able to get down to turn 3 Xenon Obelisk.
Ah, there it goes. There it goes. Either Find the Way or a power was.
It is a shame that that is going to be depleted in power, but it still does allow him to play the Temple Scribe.
Uh, so Mimilet's gonna drop down this Xenon Obelisk, which is the namesake of the Praxis tokens deck, and it's gonna swing on. He's gonna double trade here. Cross is looking to keep his life total relatively high against this very aggressive Praxis token draw.
Definitely. It's gonna be kind of tough.
Uh, so Mimilet does it. Okay, yeah. So Mimilet attacks here. Gets into more damage to Cross. Cross Mimilet does play this box round. I think that's going to be quite. It's quite the play for Mimilet here. I think that's going to end up putting a lot of pressure on Cross here.
It's not necessarily going to straight up be game because the Cumbria Emissaries are allowing Cross to play several of those powers in one turn.
And he also gets a Talir next turn. If he can survive this onslaught for just one more turn, this Talir might be able to draw enough Destiny units for
It's
Cross.
going to have to be for 2 turns because that Talir isn't going to draw anything on the turn she's played.
Right.
And I'm not sure that you can. This is a lot of damage coming in.
He's gonna chump and not trade here. I'm not too sure about that. I think I would have tried to trade. He's gonna rally, and I think that's gonna be, if not actual lethal. That was a good play actually. If he was suspecting a rally, then it was lethal with a rally. But I think that if the opponent had the rally, it for us though.
So now we know what Cross is trying to do here. And it seems like he's going to need a bit more time than Mimilet's willing to give him to make it happen.
Yeah, I think the Praxis tokens deck has too much of a clock in order for him to get his combo going. But we shall see. We shall see. He had a pretty good draw there. Cross had a pretty good draw there. He had a double Cumbria Emissary and was able to utilize both power plays effectively. So I think that's as fast as we're going to see him go. Now, Mimilet might not get a rally next game, so that is a determining factor. But
yeah, also the turn 3 Xenon Obelisk into turn 4 Xenon Obelisk was pretty relevant too.
yeah, I mean, it was basically a god. In
In
in Cross's Ever, we have Scorpion Wasp, Sandstorm Titans. I don't think he really has anything here actually to stimulus flow. I think he has to run straight back. Maybe Praxis, maybe the Sandstorm Titan can help him against the Humbug Swarms. But other than that, I don't think he has much of a sideboard for this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big issues with his deck design is that he wants to be able to have literally every single card in his deck have Destiny. That includes. That means that he has to be running just units and powers with Vodacon. I'm kind of surprised he's only running the one Vodacon in the 90, but beyond that, he's locked himself out of playing any non-unit spells.
Yeah, for sure. Because if Taliyah gets to go off, well, we're gonna see something magical happen. But is that the entire thing? Like he doesn't have any. Yeah, he doesn't have any other time based. So if he manages to hit all the time based stuff and manages to have Vodacon plus Taliyah, he's gonna have to find some way to sacrifice Taliyah obviously in order to go infinite. Anyway,
All right, players are into the game. Cross winds up
back
having
into
a
the game.
really awkward hand with 2 fire sigils and a whole bunch of time units, including a Heart of the Vault on top. This is not where Cross wants to be. Mamelet, on the other side, has a spectator error.
Yeah, we're gonna have to reload that spectator on the other side there.
Cross does
Cross,
wind up getting that draw.
I think Mimula does have a pretty good draw though. He has a double he had double Trailmaker. That's usually a good enough for a Praxis tokens draw.
Another turn 3.
And Cross is looking at why splashing Heart of the Vault in this deck might be a bit of a loose idea. He has to get more sigils in order to play the Heart of the Vault, but there's this Combre Emissary sitting out in his hand.
Right. Though, since Mamelet only has the one Xenon Obelisk in play now, that Amber Acolyte is going to happily take that block right there against the Trailmaker, putting Mamelet back down to 2 power, or 3 power, and up to 4 and 5, because another Trailmaker and a power come down. But Cross is in a situation where he may be able to make it towards Taliyah pretty soon, especially with that Amaran Archaeologist.
I'm not actually sure about that. He got a time sigil in order to play the Combat Adversary, but if he had just gotten another fire sigil, he could have played Heart of the Vault next turn, which would have been able to target one of Mimulet's units and slow them down.
You're right on board, but I think Cross was weary of that second Xenon Obelisk, which we see coming down.
Ah, yes.
Blanking that value of Heart of the Vault. Anyway.
You can't expect Mimulet to draw a second Obelisk 2 games in a row. I mean, you may in your latter endeavors, you may have seen Praxis draw their fair share of double Obelisk draw, but it's actually not that likely. So,
however,
I with a high percentage play.
However, I do believe that Cross is just trying to have access to that Combre Emissary fairly soon. He does wind up playing the Mystic Ascendant instead of the Combre Emissary in the second power, which means he won't be able to put the Taliyah down right away unless off the top he finds undepleted power.
Sure. Next turn, he's going to be able to play this Taliyah. And yes, okay. So he's going to be able to play the Taliyah, and then the following turn, if Mimulet doesn't have an Obliterate, and we know that Mimulet does not have an Obliterate in his hand, this is going to be quite the treat for us to see.
Here we see Cross getting access to a whole bunch more power, as his deck does.
The Combre Emissary Mystic Ascendant combo here is definitely there's a lot of value going on here, for sure from Cross's side.
For sure, especially with that Ascendant getting the buffs from all of those powers, it's now very happy to block anything, including that Arcanum Monitor, which really reduces Mimolit's opportunities to block, and the late game definitely goes in Cross's favor. No way it doesn't.
All right. So Cross actually did not play the Talir last turn.
He wasn't able to. The
Oh, right. It wasn't. He didn't have enough power. I'm thinking too far ahead. Or just getting
never
excited.
mind.
betting.
I was thinking it was a different dual land than it was. Or, sorry, I didn't realize it was a banner. He could have played
You
the
know-
Tulier, but he decided to go a bit wider and work better on being able to block things, which I do think is very understandable with his deck.
For sure. All right. Oh no! What he's wanted to do was play the Talir with a power up, so that he can play an additional power, so he can get the trigger immediately. That is a smart way to play, so that he dodges the potential obliterate out of Mimulus.
You're right. Now we're seeing him trying a lot of power off the top, which is the situation where I'd say,
Okay, good. Cross doesn't fall into the trap that some players do, and that they think that draw is the same as put. Because if Praxis Displacer was draw the unit from your battlefield, you could just put it directly back into play. But
right, that is not how it works. So he just makes
Right.
Mimolith use a bit of his power, and nothing really comes of that. Cross has drawn a lot of sigils here. But there he is, Vodacon himself. Now literally everything in Cross's deck has Destiny.
oh, this is spectacular. This is spectacular. Oh, he's gonna start discarding this Mystic Ascendant. Okay, so the Mystic Ascendant is on top. It isn't gonna go into play. Good. All right.
There's nothing really to worry about with that, though, because at some point he's going to hit a Lumen Reclaimer. Or he's going to be able to play the Lumen Reclaimer from his hand, maybe?
What's gonna have to happen here is that he's eventually gonna have to sacrifice all 3 Talirs, and then he can basically finish off the game the following turn. This
This is exciting.
is exciting, and he would only have to sacrifice the Vodacon.
Yeah,
in order to
because-
not deck himself. He does have to, in order to he needs to have Lumen Reclaimer die, so he could play the Lumen Reclaimer, although I mean it's really hard to play it right now because everything is just being played, right?
Yeah, he's definitely not capable of playing it at the moment. Interestingly, he's still not decided to kill off the Talir
No.
yet.
Now, what's interesting about this from Cross, Cross may not know this, but there's a free card per turn limit that crashes the client in challenge mode. Unless they fix it. I remember using Mizu and Combo a lot, and in challenge mode, it breaks the client if you go past the free card turn limit per turn limit. It's 50 cards, I believe. So if you place more than 50 cards, we might see a client crash.
That would be concerning.
Now, all you have to do is come back in and then figure out a way to end the loop. Uh-oh. Did he? No, okay.
No,
He
he's
hasn't.
not crashing
He was
yet.
just thinking about what he needs to play here.
He's still not sacrificing his Talirs, so he's using the Displacers to empty Mimolith's. Oh, I see. He's gonna try to use the
got it.
Displacers to bounce everything on Mimolith's side and attack for lethal with the Ascendant and other units.
This is glorious. And he doesn't really deck. Like if he gets a Lumen Reclaimer off the top, and this is why there's 2 in the deck, right? Okay, here it is. Okay, it does not get to start it, right? He gets to put it into play, and then he gets to be able to sacrifice that, which puts 4 more Lumen Reclaimers into his deck. So he gets to go infinite here. Yes.
And the rest of his graveyard will go. Wait.
He's infinite.
What?
He is infinite
Yeah.
right now.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. There's the trigger.
I'm so glad you convinced me to watch this spectacular game.
I like that there's still a Praxis Displacer trigger on top of the Sandstorm Titan that hasn't resolved yet.
It's not quite as spectacular as Means to an End combo when it went, but the virus and whatnot. But of course, fire is nerfed now, so it's a lot harder to get that kind of thing go. But you'd have these purple globes go across the screen from the Infernal Tyrant triggers, just like they're trying to kill all your units, and then they just like collapse in this one ridiculous. All your units would die at once, and there's just.
So how long do you think Cross will keep this up before he starts to actually kill the Tuliers or Vodacon?
Well, he can go forever, so I mean.
Yeah, but there's a 45-minute time limit on the rounds.
That's true. That is true. Well.
To keep people from doing this for too long.
He can infinitely put Heart of the Vaults back into his deck and do this as well. He can kill all his opponent's creatures. He actually does not need Praxis Displacers. Technically.
You're right.
Technically. I mean, it's probably a lot quicker to use Praxis Displacers to bounce all your opponent's units instead of going infinite with Heart of the Vaults, but, you know.
So, while we're watching this, maybe we can use the opportunity to plug the Great Parliament Discord channel.
Yeah, come join us on
Yeah.
Great Parliament. It's where you'll find all the information, where you talk with us about anything you want to do, and if you want to join this project, we're certainly always looking for new members to help us along in our journey to conquer the Eternal Tournament scene, right? Oh.
Well, I mean, don't tell them that yet. So it does look like Cross has decided to kill off the Tuliers and Vodacon and is finishing off.
He has a 60-60 Mystic Ascendant in amongst all this.
Yeah, and that Mystic Ascendant has been in play long enough that it gets to attack right now and put my mullet to exactly -50.
-50. Players
are now 1-1.
I'm sure if that's the only game that Cross wins this tournament, I'm sure he's going to win more than. But if that's the only game he wins, it'll have been worth it to bring this deck.
Oh, definitely. This is the kind of fun stuff that we're here for.
Exactly.
We do Casual Fridays to get to see weird things, and I would say this counts as a weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. This is a casual tournament for a reason. People bring the spice. This is where people who have had these ideas floating around in the head for however long we've had set 3 out for. This is where they're able to bring it out and have some fun with it.
Definitely. Looks like the players just jumped right back into game because no one really has a sideboard designed for this matchup.
Yeah.
Crosses on 4 lands, an Amber Acolyte, a Voice of the Speaker, a Mystic Ascendant, and a Tulier. Sorry, power. And that should mean that he's able to get to the Tulier on turn 8. Currently, there's nothing to really speed up the power plays. On Mimlet's side, we see a more controlling hand than normal.
I don't know if I'd call it a controlling hand if he has a rally in his hand.
Yes,
yeah, it's definitely slower. It's definitely a lot slower. So he did bring in the Purifies, interestingly enough. Yeah. He's looking to get these Comrade Emissaries and these Voice of the Speakers off the board, because that definitely does lead to the busted draws that Crosser is really looking for.
For sure. Now we see that Voice of the Speaker die right now, and that means that Cross only gets 1 Fire Sigil off the Amber Acolyte, which is a very big game in Mimlet's favor, because that means we're not going to see the Heart of the Vault unless Cross does draw another fire source.
Interesting enough, he attacks here. Now, what? No, I disagree with that. I think that Praxis Tokens really wants to go wide on their opponent and then use like their rally to kill his opponent, right? It deals a lot more damage if he goes wide and just like accepts the fact that they're going to have some ground blockers, right?
Absolutely. I do not like the idea of trading off my +1 power units, especially.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like it's going to end up working out partially for him, though. The Sumerian archaeologist is going to get the 3rd fire for Cross, which means he's going to be able to start pinging off some things. Mimula does not have an obelisk yet, so he has free reign with this Heart of the Vault to target pretty much anything.
However, that rally sitting in Mimlet's hand is very important to keep track of.
Yeah, I think it's
Sure,
actually
Cross doesn't-
lethal, right?
Cross doesn't know it's there, but let's see.
I think it's one-off lethal. No, it's actually lethal now with
Yeah,
the Purify.
With the Purify, that becomes lethal, so Mimlet's going to take this series.
If he sees the A space line.
There's the Purify coming out, which means Mimlet's probably about to rally for game. Yeah.
Yep.
Here we are. That's a real shame. I did very much want Cross to win, but
Oh, we have no bias in the TGP booth, though. Right?
oh,
Kappa?
No,
No,
I
I wanted to know. I wanted to see Cross. win.
Yeah.
I at least wanted
There-
to talking.
I'm not even gonna pretend to not be biased here.
For sure. All right, we see Mimula take that with the Praxis tokens draw. It's just too powerful against ground units, right? Like he does not have a way. Cross doesn't have a way to push damage. He basically has to combo off, and I think that Praxis tokens has a much faster kill than
For
his
sure.
deck.
Cross was hoping for slower opponents than what he wound up getting. Looks like that was actually the last game of the round to finish up.
Well, everybody is done.
Oh, our very own Phoenixton lost to Lucario. Lucario's on an interesting list, if I recall. Crownwatch Press Gang to pull Wandering Wisps.
Apparently, the hand cam was bugged out during that match, so we are going to fix the technical issues before we go on to the next game, the next round. And we have right now we have Mimula 1 versus Cross 2-1. Lucario beat Phoenixton 2-0. Lucario, of course, Phoenixton was on JPS screen. There's no way she wasn't on the screen.
Right.
And she anyway. And let's see. What was Lucario?
Lucario is on a Combray aggro list
Yeah.
that seems to be playing Crownwatch Press Gang to go search up Wandering Wisp. Now,
I'm not too sure how good Wandering Wisp is in an aggressive deck, but it's certainly very, very spicy to have Crownwatch be able to get Wandering Wisp. That's definitely a build around for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I suppose it's actually a bit more of a mid-range list, pardon me. It's running
It goes a little
World
further
Bears
than
and Predator
yeah, it goes-
Dinosaurs, and I mean, really, what aggro decks run Desert Marshal?
and apparently the brackets are up for the next round.
Yes, they are. So, do you think we should watch Lucario and Govnar?
Yeah, sure. We've been talking up this Lucario list. Let's and unfortunately our very own Phoenixton has to buy this. So yeah, let's take a look at Lucario versus Governor.
All right, I like the sound of that.
What is a Governor on? 1 second. I believe he was on TJP mid, right?
Yeah, he's on TGP mid-range with 2 Svetyas
Right.
and 2 Cabral elites.
He's on the Moosh list. This is exactly Moosh's list, I believe, from they came top 4 at the last ETS. The 2 Svetyas, and
Yes.
He did not. Most of the newer lists have been getting rid of Seraph, which is has its pluses and minuses. Obviously, Seraph has the late game presence if the game stalls out, but Seraph is also a ground unit that doesn't really. It's just a bunch of stats early on, and 3-4 is generally not that big of stats, and the overwhelm isn't that big of a keyboard to be abusing in this kind of list. So basically, Seraph is good, but maybe it's a board. I don't know. Through the grapevine from the competitive players, at least.
Definitely.
It even has a slow in the sideboard. And of course, Crown Watch Press King, Wandering Wisp deck. Let's take a look at the kinds of the games we can expect post board. Lucaria can go bigger, Mystic Ascended. Probably not a good idea against this deck, but he does have a Awakened Students in order to come up the ground post board. So we'll definitely see a much more interesting game post board, I think. Because right now, the only defense he has against Flyers are actually the Great Parliaments and Sandstorm Titans pre-board.
I mean, they are what they are.
Although I will say that in testing, a little bit of testing, not very, very much, but Combrian midrange. Now, of course, Combrian midrange, the one that I'm running is going for like a bunch, 4 Carnosaurs, 4 Millies, whatever, right? It does actually have a good matchup against TJP. It's above 50%. So we're going to see whether or not that comes into play here for sure. Now, I don't necessarily like the lack of Valkyrie Enforcers. I think the Valkyrie Enforcers is definitely one of the reasons to play Combrate, and I believe we're in the game.
Yes, players are in game now.
All right. We see a TJP mid hand that has all its colors. Well, except for the second primal, but I think that it's this is definitely one of those hands that you're gonna keep.
Except Governor does not agree.
Yeah.
I think that's punishment right here for not keeping that hand. Now we just see a Crest of Wisdom and Diplomatic Seal, which, I mean, Governor's now going to have to bottom that third Unseen Commando in a search for a second Justice source.
Technically, we have a spectator bug here as well on the right-hand side. There's too many cards in Governor's hand. But, actually, it's actually not going to be that bad because he is going to get the second Justice. Thankfully, this is going to be a game, and the double commando draw is going to be significant.
Very. Over on Lucario's side, we're seeing, well, what Lucario does. I mean, we're going to wind up seeing the turn 4 spent entirely on Seek Power.
Lucario does have the dreaded Carnosaur, double Carnosaur. So if he can get that and get to that position, which he should be able to, and Governor does not have a Finest Hour up to prevent certain deaths for his commandos, then we're definitely going to see a game here. Carnosaur, I think, is one of the best cards you can be running in the current metagame against TJP. It is very expensive, but it dominates them. It takes it out of the sky and provides a huge call.
It's absolutely what Lucario is glad to be doing here against Governor. It is a bit of a shame that they won't be coming down for a little while up until next turn.
Lucario does go for the greedy play with the World Behemoth. I'm not too sure what I would have done between the Great Parliament and World Behemoth, but I know that I guess it doesn't really block, so it was actually played with the World Behemoth.
Yeah, with the 2 Unseen Commandos in play, a Great Parliament token doesn't actually block any of them profitably, since they become 4/5s like you just saw. So here's the first Carnosaur eating up an unseen commando, even with that finest hour. That's a real feels bad for Governor. Just having that finest hour in hand, it's not enough to do anything.
Contemplating his life decisions there. Okay, he gets a job double Seraph.
Double Seraph is very relevant, especially since Lucario's running out of
Yeah,
kill
he actually is
opportunities.
not going to though. He's going to drop the single Seraph and use the finest hour to block the other ones. I'm not. Is that a good play? I'm not too sure.
No, we see the attack with the predatory Carnosaur goes unblocked, and Lucario now
Right.
plays the other Carnosaur. If Lucario decided to attack the Knight Chancellor Seraph with the Carnosaur, which he might have done since he has the Great Parliament in hand, which can readily block that particular commando, unless Governor had another commando in hand.
Which he does now.
He does now.
The 3 unseen commando draw. Pretty sick.
Yeah, and he
Got-
bottomed one at the start, too.
Did
So
he?
he's- Yeah. Yeah, he did that so that he could
in favor of a Justice Sigil? Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna see the finest hour come out on Seraph to eat up the Carnosaur.
Plays the Great Parliament. Gets 2 tokens out of it, which is very significant. He is rewarded for waiting on the Great Parliament.
Absolutely. So the Carnosaur Press game comes down and gets the namesake, I suppose, of this Wisp deck. The Whisper herself.
It's only going to be pumped by at most 2 right now. He might even.
Yeah, that's
He,
the. Sorry, you.
he's probably going to hold the Trailmaker in hand so that he gets additional 1 in Wisp buffs, but it's probably not going to matter in. It's probably not going to matter in the long run. I think this Wisp is going to be too tiny for too long for it to matter on this board. We'll see though.
Governor's opportunity to win the game really comes from an opportunity to draw 2 more power and start popping off with Seraph.
Yeah, sure. Which is one of the reasons why Seraph being taken out of the deck in current lists is kind of not as good as what people think. I think because Seraph really does like this kind of situation occurs very often in, for example, a TJP mid mirror, where the air in the ground stalls, and you have to find some way to break it.
Well, I feel the Seraphs have been coming out because Sveta's activated ability provides somewhat similar value.
It's not the same though. It really doesn't, especially since you don't get critical the finest hours, the permafrost, the removal as well as the stand togethers. They just get discarded, right? So you get more threats to put onto an already stalled board. So it's not as good as you would expect.
I'm still not entirely sure I agree because so much of TJP's units have flying. You kind of like to put stuff into a stalled board, especially since you're running the Valkyrie Enforcers to deal with any Sandstorm Titans. And the thing about Seraph is, I'm sure everyone remembers the times when they or their opponent get something massive off of Seraph. But it's also possible to get a 1/1 that becomes a
2/2.
Yeah.
The average Seraph hit is a 6/6, though. So it's not like certainly not the worst. However, this Wisp is at a 4 right now, so it is getting bumped here. See, slightly below average, but still relevant on this board. The Seraph.
Definitely. Oh, we see the equivocate. No, that wasn't from.
That was an automaton. That was an automaton, and it had to bounce his own unit.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was great though for Lucario because hitting the automaton off Seraph allowed him to return the permafrosted lunar mages to his hand.
Yeah, for sure. However, since Governor is still putting a clock here, getting Lunar Magus to proc a Nightfall hit is actually unfavorable for Lucario currently.
Oh, Lucario got exactly what he needed there, though. That Sandstorm Titan is
That
going
was a
to
great draw.
allow him to not just die to the flyers. And you're forgetting, though, that Lunar Magus is exactly what Nightfall.
Wait, is this
Lucario
lethal?
wants.
Are we forgetting something? Let's see, he blocks 8. Yeah, it's lethal. If he has
Even
nothing,
if he blocks the 9
which he won't have.
Yeah, that's still Xaxes. Nice job.
20, I think it's 21, right?
If he blocks the 9/9, it's exactly lethal. Looks like Governor's deciding to block the 8 and just make it not exactly lethal.
You're right, my math.
Oh, you were just
And he-
looking at the block that he wound up making instead of the block that he could have made.
Okay, so the Combre deck won that game, which is considering how TJP is very dominant in the current meta. That is surprising that something like Combre can have a chance again. And we're definitely, I think we're tomorrow, for example, in the ETS, I think we're gonna see a lot of Combre, at least some mid range, to combat the rising tide of the TJP. But what are we looking for in Cyberus?
Well, in Lucario's sideboard, we have 4 Awakened Students, 2 Desert Marshals, 2 Vanquish, 2 Xenon Initiation, 2 Xenon Obelisk, and 3 Mystic Ascendant. Of those, I feel like it's weird because the Xenon Initiations, for example, being able to give the Sandstorm Titans or World Bear Behemoths or refresh the Predator Carnosaur's Killers would all be pretty valuable. But you also have to be wary of Svetyas. I think they do wind up coming in this case because his opponent is only running 2 Svetyas rather than a full 4.
Yeah, I think they're also pretty good because they combat the Aegis units, the Sheltering Riders and whatnot, which are huge. If they can get rid of the Sandstorm Titans with the Silence or something like that, then the Sheltering Riders are going to fly through the air, and the initiations are very clean answers.
Yes. On Governor's side, we have 1 Finest Hour, 2 Permafrost, 3 Slow, 4 Crownwatch Paladin, 3 Lightning Storm, 1 Vanquish, and 1 Stand Together.
Yeah. I think that Slow is 100% the best sideboard card here. In fact, I don't know why he's not 4 times Slow, because I love that card. Other than that, I think Permafrost is pretty good. Even though there is Silence in the TJP deck, I still think Permafrost is a necessary evil in order to combat some of the flyers. It's one of the few cheap answers to it. Other than that, you can try to go for a Crownwatch Paladin type of thing, but I don't think that's good enough.
Well, Lucario actually isn't running any Silence outside of the Desert Marshals, so it's not that bad, really. Looks like players are in game now. I suspect that the Stand Togethers came out of Governor's list.
Yeah, I think so too. There's no surprise harsh rules in the sideboard of Lucario's deck. So
All right, Governor's on a hand that is going to be built mostly off of Seek Powers. Turn 2 Kothon and Turn 3 Unseen Commando are likely to show up. Well, maybe not the turn 3 on Sea Commander, or maybe not the turn 2 Kothon, depending on what he wants to do to the sea powers. Of course,
he picks up the does pick up the second Justice before he picks up a Primal, so we know he's definitely not going for the Kothon turn. He wants to get that turn 3 Commando.
Over on the Lucario side of things, we're going to see a hand that is built largely off of 2-drops. Starting off with a ramp from a Trailmaker, and that means he'll be able to play 2 different 2-drops next turn, or play a turn 3 Great Parliament, which, you know, when your opponent does play a 2-3 is kind of worth considering. But there's the Sandstorm Titan that Lucario drew. That makes sense here, and it dies instantly to the Vanquish.
Yeah, I think he wants to wait on the Great Parliament to see if he can get some value off of it, because 2 4/4 flyers does stunt the 2JP draw pretty effectively.
Oh, I do agree, and especially since Governor has that permafrost in hand, it would be really unfortunate for Lucario to play the Great Parliament for a single owl.
Governor has a very excellent draw. If he can draw a time, which of course is the thing that TJP lacks the most, and that's consistency with its power base. And we're seeing it right now. He can't play the double equivocate and this Giraffe. We'll see whether or not that's going to affect him later on.
Yes, so far that is really unfortunate for Governor because of the permafrost not being viable for taking out the Sandstorm Titan. However, it looks to be that Lucario is considering double blocking the Valkyrie Enforcer with the Sandstorm Titan and the Temple Scribe. That means it's not a full blowout and the Valkyrie Enforcer still dies, but Lucario does lose that Sandstorm Titan, and that is definitely concerning when dealing with the flyers that Governor has access to.
Oh, that's definitely a very good play. He spied the Finest Hour. There was probably a pause earlier on that he spied as well, but he definitely sniffed out the Finest Hour and blocked accordingly. And Lucario wasn't able to, or the Governor was not quite able to get as much value out of the Finest Hour as he otherwise possibly could have. Desert Marshal comes out, and he's going to double block here to play around another Finest Hour. But
no, that's not to play around the Finest Hour. That's just to kill the unit. Otherwise, it would be a 3/4 bouncing off against a 3/4. Either way, we now see Lucario draw into another Temple Scribe, so it just keeps moving over the draws. And right now, it definitely looks like Lucario is in the driver's seat. With Governor, drawing a slow. That's not exactly great right now. And see,
and he's just gonna concede. It might even have been. No, it wasn't lethal, but I do agree with the concession there. I think I would have played it out just for the the 0.1% chance I won, but I don't think there was much of a back, even if he drew a time sigil of some kind. Yeah, no, time influence.
It really wasn't very viable at that point.
All right, so that's the end of that match. 2-0, I believe, for Lucario. Showing what I've said, the strength of the Combo deck in the face of TJP mid.
Yes. So now it looks like we can go and watch Lucario versus Vampus in the next round. As well, wait. I mean, it's probably that's what we'll wind up watching next round, but it looks like Cross and Ben Buford are still playing right now.
All right,
we're gonna quickly dive into Cross's game for a live look-in.
So this is between Cross and Ben Buford. Ben Buford was on. He's on Sweet. I think this is Tony G's list from last. No. This is spicier.
Oh,
Wait.
well, we got a tiny look at that on the live look-in cam. Cross won the match. Yeah.
So his crazy Tobler combo deck took it over Ben Buford.
Yeah, for reference, Ben Buford was running Huru with 4 Champion of Order.
I was gonna say this is a direct copy of Tony G, but I don't think it's a direct copy anymore. There's 4 Champion of Order. That's spicy. That's spicy.
Definitely.
sure.
A lot of people brought a lot of various different fun spices to this event today. It's a shame that we didn't really get to cast all of them with Ben Buford losing here.
Yeah, for sure. He did have the to note, Ben Buford did have the protects in there for the Champion of Order plus protect combo. When the champions multiply, they all get Aegises, which is pretty insane when it goes off.
So we're now going to watch the 2-0 match to see who goes 3-0 in the tournament. And that's going to be between a deck that is running Wandering Wisp and a deck that is running what's her face? Navani Warsinger. I don't think either of these legends were cards we expected to be in the finals.
I didn't really expect them in the tournament, let alone in the finals, you know?
Fair point.
This is the casual tournament.
True.
But the spice is always brought out.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We're all about that spice.
Okay. So in the finals, we're only going to have 3 rounds this tournament, unfortunately. We're going to have Lucario versus Vampus. I believe, right?
That is correct. It will be Lucario who's on that Combre deck with the Wandering Wisps, and Vampus who's on Rakano with Navani's.
And Warhelm, he does have the Navani Warhelm combo. Of course, if you play Navani with Warhelm in the same turn, that means that you immediately get a Warcry to your entire deck.
That is really quite useful if you do wind up drawing 2 of the units that get hit with the Warcry, or units or weapons rather. And since that is the entirety of the deck minus the powers and the Vanquish and the torches, it does seem very possible.
I think Cygnus' opinion is very sad to not see Stella in this list, but
Yes, I am disappointed to not see Stella, but I can understand that Navani and Warhelm combo together, but Stella and Warhelm do not, and he's running enough non-gunslingers that it does make sense to be running not Stella, but I like Stella. I think she's a Stella card. What?
we could take a look at some of the. Wait, are they in game yet? They're not.
Players are not in game yet,
All right.
so we have an opportunity to talk about the lists.
So in the sideboard of Vampus, when we get to see a game 2, we have some Cromwell's Paladin, a couple of Protects, Vanquish, and an Enforcer, Crimson Firemaws for some additional threat density. The last 2 Deep Forge plays, he's running 2 in the main. Flamestokers. I disagree with the Flamestokers, but mostly because you need extra power to run the Flamestokers, and some Soulfire Drakes. Ooh, Soulfire Drakes are pretty spicy in the sideboard. In order to find some additional.
So Voss is going to go ahead and keep a hand with a Steady Marshal, Warhelm, and Unseen Commando. Or was this mulligan into this hand? Sorry, I didn't catch.
I did not catch it. It looks like a solid hand though, if you can draw some. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad keep. It's
Oh,
if
definitely.
you've been running not hot during the day, this might be the kind of hand you keep just because if you've been having power issues. I sometimes find myself doing.
Right. For me, I'd be looking at that hand and be worried about having power flooding issues.
Yeah.
At the moment, Lucario is really relying on some more top decks of power, which he does wind up getting, allowing him to play Seraph and attempt Spread in the same turn. Once again,
I think we have a spectator.
no, we don't have any spectator bugs right now.
Lucario's on
Everything's
5
working
power,
fine.
which is Vampus is on 3 though.
That's not a bug. He's got a Trailmaker and an Initiate of the Sands in play.
I'm. Well, that's
Interestingly,
that's my funniest caster blunder so far.
yes, that's quite an interesting one. I think maybe if there's any bug, it's that Lucario's power is depleted right now because he played the Seraph and Temple Spread, which means we're going to see Vampus able to attack or play the torch if he wanted to without being worried.
He
So
is
we're
going
going
to play
to-
this Warhelm, and
Oh, I guess Lucario wasn't out of power. My bad. That is a very good Desert Marshal play there.
that was a spicy Desert Marshal for sure. Yeah, he is. If he triple blocks here, he know. All right, so Lucario knows that he has a torch in hand, so he's going to block accordingly so that he doesn't get blown out by the torch. But he also has Stand Together, so it's actually not even that bad of him to bait out the torch here.
It's strange that he didn't wait for Vampus to decide to cast the torch to play the Stand Together. That's
and he is actually going to get blown out by this. He's going to lose this Seraph
and the Temple Scribe instead of just the Temple Scribe.
Yeah, for sure. What's the how many? Okay, you need 5 time influence in order for one of this to go off. All right, so
Yes,
still
which
2
means-
away for that.
Which means for now, those units are just going to be sitting around as 1/1s. I don't entirely agree with Valkyrie Enforcer hitting the Wisp when it could have hit the Chronological Press game, getting rid of the
I think that's much.
Revenge.
Right now, I think that since Lucario is 2 turns off at least from hitting the Wandering Wisp trigger, I think it's definitely much more important for him to be able to trade with the Chronological Press game.
However, I don't think it's really going to wind up mattering that much
it
because
does.
I think Lucario has the game in the bag. Not this turn, but next turn.
For sure. Even
and
if
Vampus agrees. Vampus just finds the concede button and is off to sideboarding.
All right. So we talked a little bit about Vampus's sideboard. In Lucario's sideboard, he has some Awakened Students for early blockers, additional Desert Marshals and whatnot. He might bring in Vanquishes for any plated units, and I'm not too sure about the Xena initiations in this matchup. I think he might get blown out a little too often for bringing a Xena initiation. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the initiations are quite where it wants to be. One of the nice things for Lucario is that a lot of Vampus's stuff has 5 power and 5 toughness or no more, especially in the sideboard. So those Sandstorm Titans are gonna be fairly happy unless they run up against a Valkyrie Enforcer or something with a Deep Forge plate on it. Or Vanquish. I guess there are ways.
I don't think Vampus wants to, for example, bring in Flamestoker, and I think that Soulfire Drake runs too much into the risk of hitting Desert Marshal. So I think that's going to come in. I think those are more controlled chips than this.
Right. Which means that Vampus, who is already down a game, doesn't seem like he actually has too much that he can bring in. I suppose the Valkyrie Enforcer comes in just to bring up the number of Enforcers that he's playing. Maybe the Vanquish. I don't know.
Protects might come in, but I think they're too tempo inefficient against what amounts to not an aggressive deck, but a slightly slanted aggressive to the aggressive end Combrei deck. So I think that being tempo inefficient in that kind of matchup is not going to bode well for him.
I do agree.
He might bring in the Crown Watch Paladin as additional early threats for sure, but I mean that's just it's only a slight upgrade for sure.
Whereas Lucario just has more card advantage with the Crown Watch Press games and even the Seraphs if the game does wind up going a bit late. The World Bear Behemoths too. It's gonna take Lucario a bit less work to win than it's going to take Vampus, I feel. Players are in the game. Once again, we see Vampus on a very power-heavy hand, all things considered. Once again, 4 power sources, this time a Torch, a Rakano Outlaw, and an Unseen Commando, and a 5th power off the top. That's not really what Vampus is looking for, that 5th power.
Or Lucario has and from the Combrei side as well. He has Seraph for some early blockers. He also has the card advantage for some more blockers.
He gets to play that turn 3 Crown Watch Press game, which is more than happy to block the Rakano Outlaw. The one thing that it's not going to work out now for blocking the Outlaw now that the commandos come down, so it's probably more likely that Lucario will play a Seraph here.
Sure, Unseen Commando, busted card.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
No, I don't think they did, really. But Lucario is still going to have to find a way to deal with that Unseen Commando. Here we see Vampus attacking him with both, and it means that the Seraph's going to die to a Torch in combination with the Rakano Outlaw. Well, once again, if Lucario stabilizes with something pretty quickly, and since he keeps drawing power, it seems very reasonable. Vampus is going to need to draw live. And
a one drop, even though it's been Warcry, it's just not going to be enough, I don't think. It does stabilize the ground, and he's able to attack through this, but we know that he's just going to drop a World Bear Behemoth this turn, and since Vampus doesn't have an answer to it, the board's going to be stalled once again.
Insta-board stall. And once Lucario gets that 6th power, he'll be able to eat up the Unseen Commando.
And there it is, the sixth power. I was going to say, the Unseen Commando is pecking through in the air, but no longer anymore.
A Deep Forge Plate, though, that's like the only thing Vampus can really draw at this point, and here it
becomes a 9/10, so he can still triple block this, and he only loses 2 units. He's going to attack with the. Yeah. That's actually much better. That's actually
you
much
put it
better
on the Rakano Outlaw, definitely.
Yeah.
The quick draw here is super relevant because even if Lucario were to block with everything, the World Bear Behemoth would just die, and then the other units wouldn't be able to deal enough damage to kill the Outlaw. So Lucario goes down to 6 and is now.
Okay, so what Lucario could do next turn is hold up the 3 power for the stand together, and be able to double block the Rakano Outlaw. It will die if Vampus doesn't draw anything. I think that's what Lucario is considering right now, and he does. He passes it back.
So that's going to be the plan, using the stand together to block or multi-block the Outlaw.
And since Vampus draws the additional power. I'm not too sure he can actually play around this though, right? He has to do something.
Right. And Vampus doesn't necessarily really know this, but sorry,
He's
Lucario
the-
doesn't know this, but he can happily just block with a World Bear Behemoth if the Outlaw does attack.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
so we
sure.
see Vampus not attacking whatsoever. I mean,
That was a good
Lucario-
play by Vampus, to be honest. He did sniff it out.
Right. However, Lucario now gets access to a Wisp at a time that
And
it's going to be very relevant, I think.
I think it's going to become what, a 4/4 next turn, and then if he doesn't play anything, he probably is going to play something. But then it'll be a 7/7 the following turn, and then the following turn it'll be able to block the Rakano Outlaw, and then I think that's pretty much game over.
I mean, it's just another small unit that becomes a massive unit over the course of a couple of turns. I'm coming around on the Wandering Wisps a little bit for board stalls.
They're a little. They're pretty slow. I think I would prefer something like a Mystic Ascender, something like that. But it is pretty spicy with the Kamwa game. I will. Like, you don't even have to run that many Wandering Wisps in your deck in order to get value off of it. Kamwa Press Gang is a very good card right now.
That it is. That it is.
I think they were a little hasty with the buff too. Kamwa Press Gang.
It did seem somewhat odd. It wasn't seeing no play. I mean, it wasn't seeing a lot of play. But then again, not every card needs to.
Yeah. I was seeing pretty small amount of play. The only thing I saw it in was recorded.
Yeah.
A top deck Unseen Commando does provide an air clock for him.
Yes, at this point, that's the only way Vampus really has an opportunity to win.
Yeah, for sure. He might have to make some pretty shady chumps right now.
Yeah.
in order for him to win in the air. But I think it's probably good enough.
Being able to get the +1/+1 on his other units. when
He's
they attack.
attacking here. What does he have up his sleeve? He's looking to sneak in 3 damage so that he can so that you can win next turn. But I don't think Lucario is gonna do that, because I mean, if Vampus has anything like a torch or
Right.
a torch or if finest power, then letting through any damage is probably bad. So I think this is a very desperate looking attack.
It's not so much trying to be sneaky as he gets to give the Rakano Outlaw +1/+1.
Right.
As
But
well as the other units, but I don't think
you
Vampus
just chump with the 3/3, the Press Game, which is probably a positive exchange for Lucario at this point. So
you definitely don't chump
oh
the
right, yeah,
unit with Deep
with
Forge
the
Plate.
Forge Plate, yeah, it has overwhelm.
I mean, you do essentially jump it, but
Yeah.
actually he's going to go ahead and not jump. He's going to block with a whole bunch of units, which is reasonable here. He could still have gotten blown out. Oh, no. No, at this point. Yeah, yes, he could still get blown out if the press gain gets torched, but I think he's rotting on Vampus not using a torch on a press gang at this point.
Well, let's see. How many things are blocking the 8/8 right now? Okay, he's just blocking it. He overblocked it. Yeah, this is fine. He doesn't. The 8/8 won't die. I don't think if
It does die, yes. It was blocked by 4 units.
yeah. If he had torched the press game.
If he had torched the Crown Watch,
I think it still would have.
yeah,
I
it
think
still would have.
it died. Yeah.
You're right. It still would have been lethal to the unit. And now we're going to see Lucario attacking with everything. Is this? Yeah, no, that should be fine. I mean, unless Vumpus, I think Vumpus can
Has to
survive
shove
this.
this 10-10 wisp.
Yeah,
believe.
he can survive this attack though, and in theory, if he top decks a torch, this is going to be a very feels bad moment for Lucario.
Yeah. But I think this is also a safe attack, right? So I think it was correct to attack with everything here. He's not going to block with the Unseen Commander. He's going to hope for the win off the top.
Right. There's no real opportunity.
Unless this Temple Scribe
wait.
finds a Desert Marshal. Oh, he finds a Crumwatch Press King, but that doesn't really
even
that doesn't get him anything.
even
He
the
gets
Temple Scribe.
Okay.
Even the Temple Scribe just gaining 1 life was relevant there. It puts
Oh,
out
right.
of range of a torch or Finest Hour if that's running Finest Hours.
Yeah.
Which it is. And we see Lucario taking tonight's Eternal Casual Fridays with the power of Wandering Wisp.
Wandering Wisp is too overpowered. Please nerf.
I don't think it was actually really the Wandering Wisp
Nah.
that won him many of those games.
Nah,
I think it was just
So I think it was just
Combray deck in general.
Yeah, I think it was that Combray is actually fairly solid right now. It still feels bad, man, to run Combray without the crests. You have to add in off-color crests and stuff of this nature in order to make the power base sufficient. But I think it is a strong choice right now, which is unfortunate for me and for people.
Whereas his plan was just to be time splashing justice.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. He was basically mostly a time deck. There was no. He did have no. He didn't even have commandos in the deck, right? So it was. So it was a very time oriented slanted deck. So the power issues that can come up, for example, if you're running cards like a Millie, don't come up in this deck. He even has Trailmakers in there, which adds to the efficiency of the power base. So this might be an idea to take a look at for sure.
Yeah, maybe you don't go that deep into time to play Wandering Wisp, but maybe you go that deep into time just for power base value.
Yeah, for sure. Like World Bear Behemoth and Predator Carnosaur are already very efficient in this deck. You can definitely land them on time. Stuff to think about for our audience out there, for sure. If they're planning on either participating in our tournament next week or laddering or in the ETS tomorrow, for sure.
So thank you to everyone for playing and for watching. Oh, we're getting a extra 4th match, a feature match coming up soon.
We don't even know what feature match this is.
This is exciting.
Let's see what happens. We're getting you a backup match.
Right. Oh, this isn't even a backup match. It's a feature match. This is going to be its own round in and of itself, not calculated into the tournament itself.
I don't know what that means.
That means we're going to have 2 players play independently of tournament standings.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So Lucario and Mimulette. Okay.
All right.
Lucario was on that Wisp deck, of course. We just watched dominate.
And Mimulette's the one running Praxis tokens with the Idol of Destron.
Not really wealthy Praxis tokens. Yeah, he disguised himself as wealthy, but with the Idol of Destron. but he's not actually rolling in the gold, so to speak.
I think the Idol of Destron is more so his reasoning of saying that he's not really wealthy and that he would be playing something other than the Idol of Destron.
Oh yeah, I guess he's not running Heart of the Vault in there, so maybe he's a newer player, or a player that doesn't quite have a large enough collection to have Heart of the Vault. I'm not even sure Heart of the Vault is even the correct choice for Praxis tokens, because it's just such a heavy commitment to a 6-drop, right? As good as Heart of the Vault is, it's really not quite in line with the plan of Praxis tokens.
Yeah, I have to say I agree.
Now, of course, I win most of my games with Praxis tokens off the back of a Heart of the Vault that gets value, but you know.
I feel like I lose a number of my games where I'm running Heart of the Vault off of having a Heart of the Vault sitting in hand and one sitting on top of the deck when I don't have enough power to play it. Don't have enough influence. It's definitely a very strict on influence card.
I wonder if there are any other 1-drops I could be thinking about running in a deck like Lucario's, because College Press Fang is a very good card. I'm definitely very interested in getting. Of course, there's the old Valkyrie Aspirant, which is, not great. I have put a Valkyrie Aspirant in a Crown Watch Press Gang deck. The Revenge deck originally had it as a one-of, and it was not performing. Right, it was as bad as it looks. Right.
Right. I mean, it can also get the Initiate of the Sands.
Yeah, I mean, it gets some value for sure.
That. All right, it looks like players are in and ready for our bonus match of Mamilet versus Lucario.
I'm excited, for sure. So I think Mimilet has a hand that I would throw back. It is a little bit too slow. Oh wait, he has a Crest and double Xenon Obelisk. This is actually a lot closer than what you would think initially. And I think the Lucario just has a solid hand.
Mimilet does decide to throw it back, and I do agree that it would have been a risky keep.
Sure, and he gets suitably rewarded by having a very solid Praxis tokens hand. He doesn't have any of the powerful cards that interact with the tokens deck, but he does have the startup tokens he needs.
There are currently 58 1-drop units in Eternal, though some of those are uncraftable.
Yeah. Toxic is my.
Yes, go Toxic. Maybe
So, Cario has a double rally. This is not going well for Lucario. I think this is I think this game is going to be done in short order here. He blocks the 2-1-2. Oh,
that's a feels bad.
Wait, was he dead? If he did. Hold on a second.
No, he's dead either way.
It's just dead anyway.
I think Mimilet was very rewarded for not keeping that risky keep.
Yeah, that was one of the most amazing draws I've seen of the Praxis token deck. For sure, nothing that Lucario can do, and that's one of the things that happens with the Praxis token deck. You get these nuts draws that are basically uninteractable with unless you have a Hailstorm.
It's just brutally fast and impossible to interact with unless you're running Hail or Thunder storms.
Yeah, for sure. So what does Lucario have in the sideboard even to fight this? He has some earlier blockers in terms of Awakened Student and Desert Marshal, but I think pretty much any other card is not going to come in. Does he have?
Yeah, Yeah, it's the vanquishes and Xenon initiations aren't really going to be that useful. Too slow or not blocking a pile of low-cost creatures.
He might like. I think the Xenon obelisks in the main and the Sand-Togethers in the main are too risky and too slow for him to keep in. So he has 6 slots available to him. So the 2 Desert Marshals and the 4 Awakened Students can just slot in there, I think.
Yeah,
And that's it. The Xenon initiation, I think, is okay, but not. I think it's just too slow. And
I mean we're seeing the power of a list that only costs 26,800 shiftstone, and that's with an Idol of Destron in there, which is something you can pretty easily replace with, I don't know, another Arcanum Monitor, which still costs a little bit, but nowhere near as much. I think this is a deck that if you're new to the game and want to get some wins in on the ladder, for example, this is a very realistic deck to make.
yeah, this is definitely a deck you can grind with for sure. That's cheap and easy to build. There are no legendaries, I think, in this, right? Oh, the
There's
Sandstorm
the Sandstorm Titans
Dude,
and the
I don't even think Sandstorm Titan is that great in the deck, to be honest. So you can actually, if you're looking to replace cards in all the legendaries in the deck, the Idol Adjustments and the Sandstorm Titans, I think you can make this entirely a budget-friendly list.
That is absolutely possible. The big thing you'd wind up crafting are the Arcanum Monitors, which is a promo, meaning it's a little bit more expensive than a rare.
No,
but
it's
it's
600 shift zones, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
which
cheaper
means
than a rare.
cheaper than a rare, right? And I'd say very, very much worth it. They don't necessarily wind up getting run in a full high budget Praxis tokens list always, but
They could still be run
yes,
in that.
they still can be, definitely.
You have to be very worried about Monitor, though, in my opinion, because you can easily get blown out. Like you get the Monitor silenced and stuff like that, and you're like have a bunch of attackers and they all get less health and whatnot, like all at once. Like it's not a.
Right,
It's a card you have to be very careful. Like.
So we see Marmalade mulligan off of a very poor 1-power hand into a very serviceable 3-power hand with a Trailmaker to make it up to 4-power that'll allow him to play Sandstorm Titan on curve.
Interestingly enough, Lucaria doesn't keep the Xenon Obelisk in his deck.
I suppose I can understand that desire, wanting to be able to go either even or above Mammolet's Xenon Obelisks.
I think this is a proper attack from Mammolet because he doesn't have any current hit. Oh, and Lucaria does not trade off. I think I would have.
I would have.
You want to keep the tokens boards low.
Right. I would have traded off against the Grenadin Drone, but I suppose being able to put down the obelisk is Lucaria's reason. That way he can favorably block 1/1s now.
Lucaria is looking to fake out his No, actually no. He's looking to get a Wandering Wisp online as soon as possible. Next turn it's going to be online.
Right, and after that he's going to be able to play the Predatory Carnosaur and eat up the Sandstorm Titan, even with an Arcanum Monitor in play.
Yes, he has a Xenon Obelisk in play. Maybe that's what he was thinking about. Maybe he was thinking about the Carnosaur interaction with the Sandstorm Titan. Maybe next level Dissolve.
Yeah, at this point, Mammolet no longer has profitable attacks. And that is exactly what Lucaria wants to see. With a deck that's running Wandering Wisps, you're kind of just expecting to go later into the game than a deck that's running a lot of 1-drops or cards that make multiple 1/1s.
Yeah.
Interestingly, in spite of that, Lucaria decides to attack in with the Crownwatch Press Gang, deciding it's now time to start pressing
his advantage.
Pressure.
Pressing his advantage. Yeah.
Yes, pressing his advantage.
He's going to be suitably punished, though. I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I think he's gonna have to trade off with the initiate, which means that he's an extra turn away from being able to double activate the Xenoblist. He does not. He does not actually trade. He gets a little greedy.
Yes, I mean, I totally understand not wanting to trade off the Wisp there, but I think I would have been willing to go ahead and trade with the Initiate as well here.
It's gonna end up being a good play though, I think, because he's gonna be able to get the Obelisk online here. I'm not too sure what he bounces here. I mean, if he bounces the Predator Carnosaur, obviously it hits the death of him. And,
yeah, you don't bounce the Carnosaur. Honestly, there might have been something to be said for bouncing his own Grenadin drone.
Yeah, true. That would have been a sick play. I think the bouncing the Seraph would have been an interesting play as well because if Seraph if he just exhausted Seraph right now and hit something big, like we're gonna see and that's oh right, with Xenon Obelisk in play, he gets to double pump his units.
Right. At this
So
point,
even
it's
a
almost
three-
impossible to not hit something big off of Seraph.
Even the 3-2 Auric Bully is something huge for him to hit Seraph. Oh, if he hits the Shimmer pack now,
Right.
Hopefully he does not shimmer his opponent's units. All
Hey,
right,
look, more Wisps.
more Wisp tribal here.
There's a Sandstorm Titan.
This is a hell of a board stall.
Yeah, this is definitely a board stall. Memolet still definitely has outs to be able to break through this board stall, largely by pumping his old board, either through.
Is that an automaton again? No, it's not. It was something
No,
else. I don't
that's-
know what that is.
Yeah, this is
Oh, the
Sandbiter
Sandbiter
Sentinel.
Sentinel.
It's the
Yeah.
it's the single target Sandstorm Titan with no targets to hit. Mind you.
Oh,
Oh, that's brutal. Copperhall Bailiff. Wow.
Copperhall Bailiff reducing the attack of all of his opponent's units, and they're all tokens, so they didn't have a lot of attack to begin with. This
Yeah,
is
that is significant. I mean, it's not quite reducing Mimilet's damage threat by half,
and now
but
the Wandering Wisp is bigger than the Arcana Monitor. This is getting out of hand very, very quickly for Lucario.
I'd say Lucario has it in hand, and that's why the Wandering Wisp is getting so large. Sorry, that was not even a very good one. Sorry.
We're all about that.
At this
The
point,
bad
I really
jokes
don't
here.
think Mimilet really has any outs. This is just what happens when a Seraph gets to spew value forth for multiple turns in a row. 12-12 Silverwing Commander with Warcry 2. The flying isn't that relevant for as long as the Sandstorm Titan is around, but at this point, Mimilet's just chump blocking with his various tokens.
This is definitely.
Press
Yeah, he has another Wandering Wisp now too. It gets to be 7/7 next turn.
Right.
Even with this Obelisk draw, his units are still not big enough in order to handle this opposing board. I think that Lucario could even start A spacing here, and it's. I think that Mimilet would have to chump in enough units so that.
Right, especially since Lucario has a stand together in hand.
Yeah.
You can play this turn.
I mean, I'm not counting. I'm not doing the math.
I'm not doing the math either, but that's a very scary board regardless of mathematics.
Okay. I think Lucario may have done the math and used this yeah. If you just A spaces even with this. No, he's
It looks like Lucario is going to not A space and instead keep back units to be ready to block most, if not all, of Mimilet's units.
he's gonna get
And just take a couple of turns to win the game, which is a totally reasonable choice.
I think I would have acted as Seraph just because you get a charge unit to go. like an Icaria, which I don't even know how big that Icaria would be, but
Well,
it would
let's
be
see.
huge.
It would have been a 1414
14,
Icaria.
14. Yeah, 14, 14.
But Lucario's board was already full. So can abilities like that still?
No,
No,
yeah.
yeah.
That was my bad. He cannot activate a Seraph here.
I don't think he needs to activate Seraph now. He just
Yeah,
gets the
somehow.
ace base for the win, and that's going to put us 1-1.
It's still going. It's still going.
99, not quite over 100 negative life.
So we know the Eternal Engine can handle up to minus. It can
Oh,
actually handle up to
yeah.
minus 999.
Yeah.
But
I've seen my fair share of Reddit posts with 999 strength and toughness
have you
champions of order.
seen the fabled 999 power?
I have not seen 999 power. No.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I didn't.
Right.
It was a mask adventure.
It would be. I mean, you just make a 999 champion of order, give it lifesteal, and smash anything with it.
Yeah.
That's probably not the way they would go.
If you're looking to get the that achievement for a million damage or whatever it is, then I'd say that the best way to do that is Champion of Orders.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be, I suppose. Either way, do you think the Purifies, maybe the Xenon Initiations, even the Obliterates from Mimlet's deck are going to be useful here?
I'd say he doesn't want to bring in his he probably just like upgrades the removal a little, like brings in like 2 Purifies or like an Obliterate or something like that. I think his main game plan is solid enough that he doesn't want to affect that game plan too much, right?
Right.
He might like take out the Idol of Destron. The Idol of Destron is certainly not going to match up to the Wisp eventually, right? The Wisp is the counter to the Idol of Destron.
Yeah, it kind of is. Now, Idol of Destron is not normally a card you need to be worried about countering.
I've seen a 57/57.
Yes, but I've seen various other cards more threatening to me in many other situations.
Did lose that, but yeah, I think that the fact that Idol of Destron doesn't have anything like Overwhelm or something like that is definitely the downfall of that card.
Absolutely. That is really the big issue that both of these units have. They have no battle skills.
Yeah. The Wandering Abyss at least can be picked up Cromwell Press game. So it has the fact that it's a 1-drop going for it, whereas Idol of Destron is a 5-drop.
Right. I mean, the designs are different in Idol of Destron builds up while it's in your hand, whereas Wandering Wisp builds up while it's on the board.
Are we in game yet? We are not, right?
The
Are we
players are
finishing
not
this?
in game yet now. We will be finishing it, I suspect. Players are not yet in game though. Taking some of their own time to look over the sideboards, I suspect.
What do you think about this Sindok Raging? in Mimulus sideboard.
I think it's a card.
Oh, it's actually pretty good in the tokens deck because you can swing wide and then like hit Sindok
Yes.
down to a pretty low amount. So
Yes,
I mean,
it.
but the card dies to Mortar. I don't know.
I think it's Marmalot just playing what cards he has. Because
Yeah.
Marmalot is playing a fairly budget list. And it's definitely an interesting choice. If you happen to have a Sindok, it does work fairly well with the general goal of a tokens list.
Yeah, for sure.
For example, if you wind up hitting in with just 2 units in a rally, Sindok costs 3, or any 3 units in a rally, and Sindok's going to be
That's
free.
0. Yeah, it's going to cost 0. So it's decent. I would say that there are probably much better uses of Sindok than in a tokens deck. Well,
Unstable form.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's unfortunate about unstable form in Sindok is that the turn that Sindok comes down, it's less cost, so you can't do the play into the 10 cost
Right.
The Scourge of Frostome. I can't remember. Is Scourge of Frostome still the only one at 10 right now? 10 power?
I do not believe so. Yeah, we at least have
There's a bond unit, right, that costs 10?
yeah,
So you're
a
50
bond
50
dinosaur.
Yeah, you're 50-50 in the Sindok with Scourge of Frostome and something else. I can't remember. No, with the Scourge of Frostome and something else. I can't remember what it's called, but it's not the Scoursome Sentinel. That's 9. So it's something else.
Foraging Sarpapod or Sauropod.
Oh, right, that.
Yeah. That card is really not what you're wanting to get.
Yeah. Even though you still get 3/3 dinosaurs, it's still not quite as good as your opponent can't play their spells.
It can't hit the Tormentor, can it?
No, the Tormentor cannot be hit. Tormentor is played off of another.
Right.
Anything 12 or greater, it's interesting. You actually get golems that cost the same amount as that, and then they become the same size as it. As the cost.
I've seen that largely from Equivocate. Oh, it looks like players are in game.
Oh yeah, in moments it's
no, Mamelet's in a game. Oh yes, players are in game. I was looking at the wrong thing. My bad.
Yeah. Okay, so Mamelet here has a hand definitely with mulliganing, and so does Lucario. We're gonna get random hands for both players. I think they're both. I think Lucario's hand is significantly better than Mamelet's hand currently, but we'll see. The Temple Scribe hands always usually shape up in some way.
I have to find myself agreeing. It's very good because even though it seems like it's a 1/1 for 2, and card draw isn't really that great, with the card draw just making it sort of paying for nothing to do nothing. In a tokens list, a 1/1 is way more than nothing.
Yeah, it serves its role. It serves its role very, very effectively. Mamelet does top deck the second Obelisk with the Arcana Monitor already in hand, so we're going to see some rather big tokens, I think, later on. Although, of course, Lucario has the Vanquish in hand to deal with one of them.
The Xenon Obelisks, though.
He's going to be power efficient this turn. I guess it's not power efficient because he could have played the. He was looking to deny Lucario his life gain. I'm not too sure I agree with that play, but it is the play that he.
Knowing that Lucario had the Sandstorm Titan, I definitely think that the Obliterate would have been better served hitting it, but that's definitely a caster knowledge kind of situation.
Exactly.
Lucario here now gets to vanquish the Arcanum Monitor, leaving the Obelisk's Memolet's only way to buff up the units.
Going to play out the Seraph, which holds the fort even a little bit further. He's 1 power away from having double Obelisk activation.
Yeah, that's going to be +4/+4 for all of his units.
It is going to be kind of ridiculous next turn. It's going to be very, very surprising too, especially if he top decks, for example, like a Alluring Ember, which I don't think he's not playing. Never mind. Okay, gets the Wandering Wisp. Yeah. I'm not too sure I agree with getting the Wandering Wisp there. I think he needed the power.
You're right. Being able to... Lucario might have forgotten that he's sometimes supposed to pick up an Initiate of the Sands instead.
Yeah. And also, not playing the Wandering Wisp, I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, sure, he can kill it while it's low, right? But there's definitely I mean, if he's going to be spending his turn torching the Wisp, like I don't think that's necessarily a poor situation for Lucario.
And look, it still can die to the Purify.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have died to Purify this turn if he had played it last turn, because he had enough time influence. My guess is that Lucario played out the Crown Watch Press Gang and wound up like pressing the in-turn button before the opportunity to play the Wisp.
Yeah, I think that was just a
now, it
user
looks like
error.
Purify isn't going to kill the Wisp and is instead going to hit the Sandstorm Titan to finish it off, which is reasonable, but that Wisp is going to start getting very big.
Wait, definitely. Yeah, he has a 6/6, a 7/7, 4/4 on the battlefield. It doesn't matter that that Mimula has this double Obelisk in play if he doesn't actually draw any units.
Right. I mean, Memolet's now digging for Humbug Swarm.
Okay, he does not trade off with the Wisp. I'm not too sure about that. This is his last opportunity to get rid of the Wisp. And if he top decks, yeah, for example, an assembly line here, I mean, it's only going to be a 13/13 next turn. You can still triple block it. It's still fine. I think that was still a fine play.
Triple blocking a 13/13 while you're also dealing with a 7/7 and a 7/8 Overwhelmer definitely starts to get worrying.
Yeah. You can, if he attacks with everything, it's actually quite inconvenience blocking for Mimula if he attacks with everything. He does not do it. He top decks with Rally, which is not enough.
Yes. See, now Memolet would have to get in with 2 units regardless of the Rally, because they only buff the units up to 7/5s.
Now, can he...
7/5s do kill off the Predatory Carnosaur and... oh, not the World Bear Behemoth. So it's still not that great of a draw here.
Yeah, okay, so he is going to go out for this all-out attack type of mentality here. Even if he attacks with just 3 units, he still has 2 blockers on the way with the Rhinoarch and the Desert Marshal.
They also get buffed up +1/+1 thanks to the Xenon Obelisk.
Yeah, +2/+2.
Well, yeah, that makes the World Bearers 8/4s, and we see Memolet not deciding to try to trade off anything and just take some damage from the Overwhelm. And this is just game. Memolet has no way to block all the damage that's going to come in from Lucario.
Yeah, of Overwhelm, and he even add some additional Overwhelm damage in terms of the the top deck's the Great Parma to add insult to injury. I think it's lethal regardless, but
it is.
Even if it wasn't. Oh, he's at 4 life.
Right. Yeah. So we see the superior late game of Lucario's time/justice list winning out against Memolet too, making him, 4-0 instead of 3-0.
I feel like I have to take a look at this list.
Yeah, there's
Something good.
definitely some real good ideas coming from this list. I think playing a more single faction focused deck with maybe a bit of a splash into another faction is something that doesn't really get considered as much in Eternal right now. And it might be an underrated deck tuning option.
Yeah, with the buff to Crownwatch Breast Tank, I think maybe Wandering Wisp is something you need to look at. Ooh, rip my stones. That's it. Rip my stones. All
Like
right, I
said,
think
there's 58 one-drop units in Eternal. So maybe something else other than Wandering Wisp is the correct thing to get off Press Gang.
well, most of those are not in. They got to be in Justice as well, right? Yeah.
Either way, thank you to everybody for coming out here today to either play in our tournament or to watch our tournament. And we're really glad to have you here, and we really hope to see you again next week. And anyone that you find on the street who plays Eternal and wants an opportunity to maybe just mess around with one of their decks, they should get them in here, you know?
I've often wondered, like, if I went on the bus and saw somebody play Eternal, like on the mobile, what would I do? What, like, would I be that guy who comes up and is like, "You're playing Eternal"? Holy crap!
Absolutely do that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
e- I even push Eternal in my local Magic stores, and
yeah,
I don't feel bad about that.
yeah, for sure. Basically, this is just basically basically a better online experience than anything Magic related. So, pushing Eternal in Magic stores is definitely the right thing to do. All right, so I believe that's it for the tournament.
Yes, once again, I've been Cygnus Infinity, and you've been
The Overmaster. You can check me out on twitch.tv/the Overmaster occasionally. I'll get around to streaming again. I actually fixed my sleeping schedule, so that's actually bad for you guys because
aw.
I was streaming at a very inconvenient time for me, and
Yeah.
now I'll just be taking away from other people. Anyway, I'll try to stream at some time, but you know.
And you can catch me at twitch.tv/Cygnus Infinity. At this time, I haven't really started streaming much, but I have plans to spend a lot of the summer streaming Path of Exile in hardcore, which is permadeath.
Jeez, yeah, I can't do that.
I don't think I can do it very well either, so you'll get to see me die and restart a lot.
All right. And make sure you sign up for the tournament for next week. That's
Sign
right.
up for the tournament and
we need more
join our
people.
Discord.
Join our Discord, the Great Parliament. Everything is the Great Parliament related here.
Even if you don't want to play in the tournament, we're working on cultivating a community of people that are happy, helpful, friendly people. And if there's anything you need help with, we're here for you.
Yeah, for sure. Any deck ideas you need to bounce off and stuff like that. No, for sure. Well, you know where to find me if you have some spice to improve upon. I'm also the Overmaster Discord.
Yes. So we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, for sure. See you guys later.